So Stellaris Necroids has turned out very interesting, especially with the new mechanics. Now let's have a look at the new pre-scripted empire, the Pasharti Absorbers. I'll tell you a little bit about them and give you some hints how to start with them and why they are actually a very good combination of traits. We have these guys, Pasharti Absorbers. They are living on a tundra world to be better preserved. They're dictatorial, an elective monarchy. They have reanimated armies, so they get undead armies when they get the dread encampment. For that you need a technology, but that technology is unlocked at the start, so you don't have to research a lot. You can just pick it at the start if you want to get to the reanimated armies very quickly. I'll show you some in-game info later. They have cutthroat politics, which decreases the edict cost, which is good because dictatorial gives you an edict capacity of +1, so that works well together. The reanimated armies are also very... First, of course, fanatic xenophobes and militarists makes them good to expand and makes them good to attack someone. For that, the reanimated armies are good, but the reanimated armies are also good because of the method of expansion with necrophages. The best method of expansion with necrophages is taking over planets that are tundra worlds, because on tundra worlds you have primitive civilizations. These primitive civilizations you will capture with army. Their armies are usually not that strong. It depends on their tech, but if you do it with reanimated armies, it's quite easy. I mean, you will also be able to do it with the Paschati themselves, because they are not only necrophages, which kind of decreases their worker resource output and stuff. They have a leader lifespan of +80 years, so have very good leaders in the end. Ruler pop resource output +5%, specialist pop resource output +5%. Pop growth speed though -75%, but the food upkeep and mineral upkeep -50%. They have slightly stronger armies than normal because they are very strong, and that also cancels out a bit the worker pop resource output. So what they can do is they can really quickly go over to one of the primitive civilization planets, and usually one or maybe two armies are enough to take over the next planets. So they're necrophages, which means they have a building, the elevation chamber. In that building you have 3 workplaces, and these workplaces produce a little bit of resources. They will be elevated every 10 years. So every 10 years, 3 of your pre-patent species become Pasharti Absorbers. Now let's have a look at the pre-patent species and why it is good too. It's the Jafarians. They look like this, of course. What are their traits? They're charismatic and docile, so they can be good culture work. It's just very helpful to have them produce more amenities, because as you can see here, the necrophytes not only produce unity, they also produce amenities. So it's very good to have your pre-patent species produce more amenities, as they will be in the chamber of elevation, doing their jobs, waiting for the elevation and producing amenities along the way. That they are more docile also doesn't hurt, because they of course grow more quickly than the Paschati themselves, and they should do that. They're also solitary, so they need more pop housing usage. Yeah, they shouldn't stay themselves for that long. They will be transformed, so it kind of makes sense to have this added to it. And wasteful, the pop consumer goods upkeep +10% isn't so bad, because the Paschati themselves, because of necrophage origin, will use a lot less. So we have some leeway with that. Because of being fanatic xenophobes, they have the ability to expand very quickly also with the star bases. One of the best traditions for them is expansion. Maybe not from the adoption effect, but later on reaching for the stars, further reducing the influence cost, and then the critical courier network, reducing the empire sprawl from systems and colonies, is helping your expansion strategy. What you could also go for is supremacy, just because you can play even more aggressive with them if you have early resistance. Your army damage also gets increased, so you'll only need 1 army to claim your first other planets. Now, being a xenophobe, you will quickly enslave all the people whose planets you take over. Of course, you want to transform them into Paschati, but that isn't so easy. Why am I building precinct houses here? Because there is the elevation chamber, but the chamber of elevation is blocked until the stellar culture shock from invasion goes away, and that needs 10 years. So you have to first stabilize these planets. Even though you have a very quick expansion, there's this thing to overcome, and you best do it with controlling crime and increasing stability, and that is done with, for example, precinct houses, later on just some districts, whatever you need, and some amenities to boot. Before Necroids, it was a usual build to get a second alloy foundry early on, to have more alloys available, but as the Paschati, you don't need so many alloy foundries, as you don't need colony ships to take over the first primitive civilizations and claim their planets. So it's more advisable to go for a mining district or even 2 earlier. Or if you're lucky, you will find some mining stations out there with the ability to quickly claim systems because of your reduced influence cost. As a xenophobe, that shouldn't be a big problem. Now I'll show you why you can go for undead armies very early, because you have the centralized command technology very early on. You can try to research it first, and then very quickly you have access to the Dread encampment, giving you the precious undead armies, and these armies will have no problems at all, with only one army to take over all the planets with primitive civilizations that you encounter. So what are the Pasharti Absorbers good for? They are good for quick military blitz expansion style of play, a very fun style of play, as it is so action heavy and you always have something to do from the very start, which makes this very entertaining. Add to that the cool backstory and the pre-scripted events for the Pasharti Absorbers, and you're in for a very good deal. So let's read the story together. The result of dark experimentation by the Jeffarians, that are now the pre-patent species, the former owners of the planet Terralon. The Pashatians are the ultimate parasites, originally a semi-sapient creature dwelling in the depths of Terralon's mountains. The Jeffarians uplifted and augmented them to act as a subservient slave race. However, their uplifting was rather too effective, and they unleashed a monster, horrified at the capabilities of their creation, which included the ability to absorb other sentient species and turn them into Pashatians. The Jeffarians tried to shut down the experiment. However, a small group of uplifted Pashatians escaped. Over the years, they bided their time, managing not only to evade capture, but also gradually increase their numbers and develop a technological base to rival the Jeffarians, probably through alien abduction. Eventually, the Jeffarians noticed that something was amiss, but by then they were powerless to resist. Soon the Pashatians had seized control of the planet, unleashing violent pogroms on their erstwhile oppressors, all the while further increasing their numbers. Now poised to take to the stars, the Pashatians stand ready to pursue what they see as their solemn duty: the conversion of all lesser life forms to their likeness. So what are your feelings about, or your experiences with the new content? I'd be happy about some comments. Share your story here. Have a great time until next time, and happy gaming. This is Immanuel Can signing out. See you soon and happy gaming.